All that's to look forward to. But before we do that, Philip, do you know what?
No, what, Dwayne?
Oh, you do so. We have to
I know.
jump
Well,
down the rabbit hole. Let's go.
We're
All
off
right.
again, but okay.
We're here. No, we're not up. It's like, let's go. Come on. Let's go. So we're here. Thank you for joining me. And here's a question for you. 1963 was an eventful year, not just for the fact that Doctor Who started in 1963. There was another huge event that year. Well, there was a few different events, wasn't there? There was the JFK assassination. Was that the year the Bay of Pigs invasion happened?
Cuba, well, was Cuba the year before?
Was that the year before?
It was long before I was born, Dwayne. But
well, okay.
There's certainly a lot of stuff happening in Kennedy's reign.
Well, let's talk about when we were born then, because we were both born quite a while after that. So my question to you is, major events, sometimes they're referred to in Doctor Who. Is there any major event that's referred to in Doctor Who that you can recall and you remember what you were doing at the time?
Oh, so do you mean that? So stories of what I was doing when stories came out?
Yeah,
that sort of thing. Yeah,
and if you remember the event, yeah.
Events. Well, that's interesting. I can remember places better. I mean, I always talk about the fact that when the first series of Paul McGann came out, I was living in Melbourne, and I remember I was walking the streets of Melbourne with a disc player, where you used to put the CD inside the disc player and put my headphones on, and I remember walking the streets of Melbourne listening to the first series of McGann stories. So that's a very burnt-in memory of my head. And I think we mentioned recently with the Torchwood story with Sir Michael Palin. I can't think of the whole name now. What's the big long name?
Tropical Beach Sounds and Other Relaxing Seascapes, Volume 4.
That's it. Because I remember very clearly when I was listening to that one, I was walking along out the M2 motorway down near my place, because that's somewhere I was. In terms of major events, no, I don't know. What can you think of, Dwayne?
Well, the one major event that happened that was referred to within Doctor Who, and that I remember very well, I would have been 12 or 13 at the time, it was Attack of the Cybermen, because they spoke about Halley's Comet. So that was a huge event. I remember my dad had bought the family a telescope. We were out looking at Halley's Comet in the telescope. It was visible for, I don't know how long it was, but it was an incredible time, an exciting time for me and my young teens, and it was a very, very memorable event, that one.
That's a good one, actually. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, okay. We I'm not sure if have you ever been to the Parliament House in Canberra?
Yes, the old one or the new one?
No, the new Parliament House.
Yes, I've been to both.
So in the new Parliament House, there's a gigantic tapestry that is all woven, which is representing, for those people who don't live in Australia, the Parliament House it's actually under a hill. It's called Capitol Hill. There's a mountain. They actually removed the whole mountain. They built Parliament House and they put the mountain back on top. So you can actually walk. It's all grass. You can walk all over our Parliament building, just to show the fact that the government sits under the people is what it's supposed to represent. And as you walk from the front to the rear of the building, each area of the Parliament represents a different part of Australia. So the very front of the Parliament is all done. It's a huge Aboriginal painting with water. It's all representing the desert and the landscape. The second area you move to is the rainforest with all these marble columns. But the third section is the Australian bush. And there's a gigantic tapestry, which takes up the entire wall, which took them about 10 years to all be sewn by hundreds of people. And in that is Halley's Comet, hidden, because whenever a traditional tapestry was done back in Europe, the person who made the tapestry always puts something in it to date it. And because Halley's Comet was coming and Parliament was opening in 1988, which was the bicentenary of Australia, in terms of white settlement, the designers decided to put in Halley's Comet. So it's not part of the plan originally, but it was actually sewn in later. And so you can actually see Halley's Comet behind all the bush. This is a little bit of fact for when you come to Australia and visit Canberra. Look for Halley's Comet in the sky. It looks.
We'll never not see it now, Philip.
You would never not see it now in this tapestry. It's just people don't notice it, and then when it gets pointed out to them, they realise, oh, look at that. That's a great dating thing. Yeah, Attack of the Cybermen, brilliant example. Are there others?
How long is it? How long? Just speaking on Parliament House for a moment. How long has the new one been there? Because when I first visited Parliament House, the new one wasn't there. It was the old one. I remember visiting.
It was open in '88 for the bicentennial.
Okay, so it would have been a few years before that I visited the old Parliament House.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, old Parliament is still. They were going to pull down. They were going to knock down old Parliament House, but in the end, they've kept it. It's now become a museum to democracy.
Okay.
Now, it's a really fascinating place to go through.
Didn't someone petrol bomb the entrance recently? I'm sure I remember seeing a fire in the entranceway recently.
I know someone tried to drive through the new Parliament House at one stage. They had to put up new barricades, and because originally they had big glass doors, you could just walk straight into the building. And unfortunately, since 9/11 and other things have happened, you now have to go through the side and through security to get in. It used to be every door could be thrown open, and you could actually see from the outside all the way to the very back through the entire building was said to be opened up, so you could actually walk through, see everything. But security measures have made that impossible now. But there's still lots of you can't roll down the hill anymore either, which is a bit sad. You can still go and stand on top of Parliament and let the politicians know that we're in charge.
Very good. So as far as other events, another one that has come to mind is not an event but a period in history that I lived through, and that was the 70s. So Horror of Glam Rock is an interesting one because that is focusing on the music of the time, and my musical tastes developed, I came to love that period of music from 67 to 77. That's my favourite musical period of all time. So Horror of Glam Rock always makes me remember those days and the costumes, the glam rockers, the prog rockers, the punks. There was a really rich musical decade, that one, the 70s. Whereas you were just listening to ABBA, weren't you?
I was listening to ABBA and the Beatles and Queen and lots of musicals and other stuff. But yes. And my tastes are fairly eclectic.
You would have started your
music too, and
taste in musicals in the 70s, wouldn't you? At a young age, you would have got a taste for them?
Probably Andrew Lloyd Webber. The first music I remember going and seeing was Song and Dance,
right,
by Andrew Lloyd Webber. But also there was another music called They're Playing Our Song, which starred two Australian icons, Jackie Weaver and John Waters. And I still really remember going and seeing that. And then, it kept just snowballing from there. Phantom of the Opera and Les Miserables and all those sort of huge mammoth things, which now I'm much more just Sondheim.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Doctor Who's always been interesting, but what is that with music?
Big Finish have done a story that's based on my favourite genre of music, which is prog rock. But it's one of those one episode ones, and I can't remember where it is off the top of my head, but I must dig it out and have a listen to it again because, there should be more stories based on prog rock. There's a few different musicals to choose from in Big Finish, but only one episode of prog rock. Yeah. Don't say anything, Philip.
There's still not a lot of shows set sort of in our period of history. I guess it's a bit harder when people are still alive and those sort of things. I mean, Doctor Who's traditionally done lots of historicals, and but more and more things are moving closer and closer. It's a little bit off-putting. I'm seeing some of the stuff that's getting a bit closer to time. There's an ABC program at the moment called The Newsreader, which is all set during the sort of late 80s, and just look at the furniture and the fashions and think, I had that wallpaper, and we had that couch, and there's things like that just slightly off-putting. Whenever you see something that's sort of set.
It really wasn't that long ago.
Well, really? It wasn't, but then it was. I mean, the three stories we're going to talk about today, that's 10 years, and I still remember them it feels like they just came out yesterday.
It certainly does, doesn't it? Well, on that note, let's crawl up out of the rabbit hole. If you enjoyed what you heard in this clip from the Sirens of Audio podcast, be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell so you never miss out on another episode from us. And if you want to find out more about us, including our back catalogue of episodes, you can head over to sirensofaudio.com.